Last week we posed the question about what is it that we want. Asking that question out of the context of the church could elicit a series of responses, from a new kitchen to a new mobile phone to getting into a new car. The possibilities are endless of what we might want. We end up with much less concrete things on the list, though, than those material things when we start talking about things in churchland. We ended up last week discussing how we wanted a world of grace, goodness, pardon, forgiveness of sins, love, and gentleness. This week, though, we're going a little deeper. We're talking about what we need. I don't know about you, but my understanding of my needs has changed over the last few months. I used to think that I needed to come into the office to get work done. Well, we closed the doors here and I successfully worked from home for months, except for coming in here to do the recordings like this one. I used to think that I needed to go out to get a loaf of bread one night and butter the next and maybe milk the next and maybe eggs the night after that. Well, I learned how to be in the store less, and at times how to make do without something for a few days. A few weeks ago, I met up with Brian and we talked a bit about the future of Holy Cross and how we can meet the needs of the communities in which we live, the one that has faithfully gotten us to this point in our history, and the one that is emerging in front of us as the world so drastically changes. Brian reminded me of an old model for understanding human needs. This diagram is from a book called The Teacher's Commentary, and it's a depiction of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We'd see that the examples that I gave earlier of bread and butter and milk and eggs would all fit well in the lowest section of Maslow's hierarchy, for they are all food and drink, hence physiological needs. However, the reality is there was other food and drink in the house, and it wasn't that I really needed those things, but I wanted them. It is here that we can see how easy it is for us to get confused about what our basic needs are and what our wants are. In the Lord's Prayer, we hear this phrase, our daily bread, which is really meant to help us understand that God cares about us and wants to provide us with our basic needs to survive. Many people would think back to the story of God providing manna from heaven for the Israelites as they traveled in the wilderness. This from Exodus 16:4. Then the Lord said to Moses, I'm going to rain bread from heaven for you. And for each day, the people shall go out and gather enough for that day. In that way, I will test them, whether they will follow my instruction or not. Of course, the test was whether or not God's people could collect what they needed, not necessarily what they wanted. When we look at the world today, do we see people taking only what they need, or do we see people taking what they want? Do we see companies taking what they need or what they want? Do we see nations taking what they need or what they want. And when we look at ourselves, do we see ourselves taking what we need or what we want? For if we take more than what we need, if we take what we want, we might actually be taking something that someone else needs. Our lives are that interconnected with each other. What we do has an impact on the lives of others. And as our world continues to change, may we take the time to examine what we need. And may we appeal to God to cover not only our needs, but the needs of the whole world. Amen.